Hello, my name is Leah. I'm 26 years old and I live in Malambo. I'm the third wife to the 75 years old Massai man and I was married off with 14 years old. My father got 5 cows for me. Right now, I'm pregnant with my sixth child. I didn't go to school and I can only speak in Maasai. I stayed my whole life in a boma, cooking and fetching water, collecting firewood, and looking after my kids, washing their clothes, and always looking after the kettle. This is my daily life. Yeah, well, this is not my story, but it could be my story because it describes a typical life of a 26 years old Maasai woman. Because of the support from Help for the Maasai for my whole education journey, my life looks completely different. So, hello, my name is Leah, and I'm 26 years old, and I live in Malambo. I went to kindergarten, then to primary school, to secondary, to high school, and I finished university with my bachelor's degree in education, with the subjects English and Geography in 2019. Now I am working for Help for the Maasai as a school program personnel and an assistant social worker. I earn my own money and I'm not married and I have no children and I'm independent. And how this development, like the change of my personal story, is also experienced by other Maasai girls. I will explain to you, giving more details and information. So, welcome to my presentation with the title Overcoming Key Issues of the Maasai Community and the Role of Help for the Maasai. And here is the structure to the presentation. First, I'll explain to you the Maasai manner of living, the key issues, the measures and the solutions to fight these key issues. And whereas we will discuss 5 aspects, which is the organization Help for the Maasai, improving girl child education, empowering women through women's projects, healthcare and mobile clinic, the impact of the gospel, and lastly, the conclusion. The Maasai manner of living. The Maasai are a pastoralistic, semi-nomadic, Nilotic ethnic group inhabiting the central and the southern Kenya and the northern Tanzania. It's among the well-known local populations internationally due to their residence near the many national parks. They live alongside most wild animals. They speak the Ma language as the mother tongue, but the educated speak Swahili and English. They live in bomas, a collection of small houses of different but related families. Their houses are made of cow dung, grasses, and wood, mostly built by women. They don't use electricity, instead they use fire for cooking and lighting. Nowadays torches are established too. Near the houses, their cattle have shed made out of wood. The Maasai traditional cloth is the shuka, which consists of 3 to 4 pieces, which looks like that in the photo. They also wear necklaces, bracelets, anklets, and earrings made of beads and steel. Their shoes are made of old tire. Moranis have their hair long and tightly braided into an elaborate style on which a mixture of the ochre and fat has been applied. Greeting is an essential thing in the Maasai community, and the young ones have to be first to greet. Young women and children bow their heads to their elders, and the young circumcised men reach out their hands first for handshaking. There are different age groups in the Maasai community. We have the Layoni, the Sipolio, the Morani, Ilpayani, and the Ngakuyani for the men. We have the Ndito, Siangiki, Yeyo, Kokoyani for the women. But mostly, the men's age groups are mostly identified and the wives fall into their husbands' age groups. Each age group must have a leader called a Laigwanani. The Maasais are well known for their strength in fighting, as in the history of Africa, the Maasai communities were hardly colonized because of their strength to fight. The young men, Morani, are well known for their spear and their orinka. With a group of 20 Moranis, the Maasai are able to kill a lion. They are still proud of their traditions despite of the modern influence and the changes. They keep it. After having looked at their life, now we can look into another thing, the key issues, deep-rooted problems, and the new emerging challenges. The first aspect is the role of women. The Maasai are a patriarchal society. That means that the traditional men have all the authority over women. Women must follow instructions strictly without giving their opinion. Sometimes men use violence against women if they don't obey or make mistakes. Husbands do not allow them to use family planning because their role is to reproduce. Women have to build houses and make beads. They have to walk long distances for water and firewood, even without the donkeys. For us, donkeys are a means of transport. They have to tend animals, milking is their work, and they have to take care of the children, to cook for them, and to wash their dishes and clothes, which is a lot of work. Women do not own properties when their husbands are alive, and even after death, their elder son inherits everything and has full authority. Girls are married off in a young age by their fathers at a certain price, maybe a number of cows. Traditionally, women eat separately and after men, what again indicates the inferior status of women in the society. Another aspect is the female genital mutilation. In old times, girls' mutilation was common and normal as the boys' circumcision. At the age of 11 or 12, a girl was supposed to be circumcised by an old woman. Currently, female genital mutilation has been prohibited, but a few families are still doing it secretly to the baby girls. Boys have always been circumcised at the age of 14 to 16. Another key issue in the Maasai community is the rapid population growth. The population in whole Tanzania and of the Maasai is progressively increasing. Although it is not easy to note the exact number of the Maasai due to their semi-nomadic lifestyle, it is sure that the growth is ongoing. This is also experienced and seen in our daily life. For example, I know a person that has over 100 siblings and has actually even built a school for them. It is normal for a woman to have 7 to 8 or even 10 children. The reason for this phenomena are deeply rooted in the values of our society. So the traditional Maasai men refuse to use the family planning and contraceptions. Sometimes women wish to use because they are tired of giving birth or because of complications, but men normally not accept because in the Maasai land, with an increasing number of children, and the status is also growing. The more children you have, the more you are acknowledged and admired among the societies. To feed a child, as a father, you need to have enough food. So the more children you can feed, the more cattle you need to have. As a consequence, a big family with many wives and many children expresses wealth. Another aspect why men are eager to have many children is that the girls are a source of wealth for the family. When they are sold out by their fathers for marriage, he receives a few cows as dowry, and thus his cattle and his wealth also increases. So to sum it up, traditional men strive for a big family, which leads to the today experienced population growth. Furthermore, the Maasai are polygamous people, so one man has several wives, and it is also common for a wife not to have only one man. For example, in the past, the husband could go to the wife's house because he has several houses of their wives. So when he goes to one house and finds a spear out of their house, he notices that there's another man in there and he turns out to leave. Due to the pointed out aspects, the population growth is high and causes emerging problems. Through the increasing number of people living in a specific area, there are conflicts and wars over the property of land. Land is not officially declared as private property because no one ever did it. But now, as we are facing shortage of land, it turned out to be a big challenge because now it involves tensions and conflicts over the belonging of land. These conflicts happen to be between families, but also between local communities, such as between the Maasai and the Sonjo. Several times in the past, the Maasai and the neighboring tribe, the Sonjo, have had land conflicts. It costed people's properties because they burned bomas, goats, and they fought with spears and arrows. The government had to intervene, and the Sonjos went into hiding because the Sonjos are mainly farmers. And because they are farmers, they had stock food. But the policemen had to destroy the food to make them come out of their hiding. The cost of living increases with the number of children, but also due to the modern changes that are coming into the Maasai community. More and more parents send their children to school and have to pay the school fees. They need to have space for living, more food, water, more clothes, and so many others. Due to more children, and also this is so much more expensive. So another key issue is the scarcity of resources. For decades, there are many encroachments and restrictions on the Maasai movement on their land. The government takes the land that originally belonged to the Maasai and sells it to foreign corporations or declares the land as national parks or conservation areas. Before that expropriation, the Maasai lived in these areas and used the land to go on with their cattle to look for grass and water. But then they were forced to leave these areas. So at the same time, as the population of the Maasai is continuing growing, their available land is decreasing step by step and is becoming rare. This is confronting the Maasai with scarcity of resources in a special and unprecedented way. Due to the Maasai pastoralistic nature, they have a big number of cattle, and this is the only way to ensure income and the ability to feed their family. Of course, these cattle need sufficient food in form of grass and plants, but now more people and cattle than ever have to be fed by using only a small area. Maasai people live in the savanna or the semi-desert areas, and naturally, you do not find many trees in this kind of environment. The few ones we have are mostly acacia type and scattered. Although they are important to us in the function of the climate, people cut these trees to build houses and for firewood as well as for charcoal. The last problem is the water shortage. Seasonally, the Maasai people experience a shortage of water because the rain delays. This causes the plants to dry out, and because of that, the animals are not having enough food. So some animals die. This is a big challenge because the cattle are the only income and food and also the status for the Maasai people. Moreover, during this time, it is hard to find enough water for the daily needs of the people. Trying to find water, women have to walk even longer distances, so they have to start these journeys to fetch water even at night. These aspects combined are enormous challenge as it can and will cause lack of food, water, and income, which results in poverty and famine if there will be no other form of making a living. Having looked at the Maasai manner of living and the key issues in their communities, we now are going to look at the measures and the solutions to fight these key issues. We will see how Help for the Maasai and their actions helps to find solutions for these key issues in the Maasai community. Help for the Maasai is a non-governmental organization with their headquarters in Germany. It was founded by Angelika Wullenberg-Kinze in 1997. It fights for education, for women's rights, health education, and evangelism in the northern Tanzania, mainly in Malambo, a village located in Ngorongoro district. Improving girl child education. Help for the Maasai has built a primary and a secondary school in Malambo. About 400 children go to the primary and 160 students in the secondary school. Our school has few students, about 40 in a class, as to make it easy to reach every student and to focus on them. Every new year, 30 children are enrolled into the program, into the sponsorship program. This means that each child has a sponsor, mainly from Germany, who is paying every month for the school fees. This student then gets full support till he finishes college or university. The sponsorship program contains in total around 927 students. The rest of the students in one class, as we said, we have 40 students, then the 30 are sponsored, then the rest, about 10, are private pairs. 67% of the class are girls and the 33 are boys. Therefore, Help for the Maasai focuses more on girls. We also provide proper boarding services to our students, which helps our students study in the evening properly with good light, unlike if they did it at their bomas. Also, in Arusha, we have an orphanage that helps abandoned girl children get proper education and living standards. There are about 25 children at the age of 1 to 14 that go to the primary school and stay there at their home. When they join secondary school, they go on into the attached boarding and they only go back to the orphanage during holiday. This year, Help for the Maasai will start a VTC, a vocational training center, that encourages students that could not continue with the secondary school or have but are interested with a particular course, join and go on with their education journey. There they can learn a specific skill such as hotel management. Apart from that, Help for the Maasai also supports so many non-sponsored children go to other schools. Some come to us asking for support for maybe buying uniform, school materials, paying their school fees. Because of that, Help for the Maasai has made different rules, one of them being against the female genital mutilation. It restricts parents from mutilating their daughters and educating the family on the effects of this. So, in general, the education that is provided has brought positive changes to the Maasai community and families. As an example, I was sponsored by Help for the Maasai from kindergarten until I finished my university studies. And now I can work, I have a proper job, I can earn my money, and I can help myself and my family. Another measure that Help for the Maasai takes to solve the key issues in the Maasai community is by empowering women through the Women's Project. Help for the Maasai provides economic opportunities for women. It focuses more on educating the girl child who for a very long time has not been given a priority in many issues, education being one of them. Through education provided with sponsorship, found many girls have been able to study till college or university and later on employed at different places like I am. At some point, some students couldn't reach university or even secondary level, so they were taken to a vocational training center where they could learn different skills and later on given starting capital and equipment for work, for example, sewing machines. Through the Women's Project, which is one of the fields of help for the Maasai, women are given a chance to trade beads to our visitors. Above 50 women got till today capital for small businesses like selling sugar and other basic needs in a boma. They also are supported by Harvard Massai with capital to buy goats and sheep that would multiply and provide them with milk, but also they can sell them and support themselves with the money. Also had been making batik and soaps. Then they sold them to the people in the village and support themselves. Help for the Maasai also provides employment and gives job opportunities to women in the village and outside. Some work as teachers, matrons, office workers, cooks, and cleaners. Furthermore, Help for the Maasai gives some women a market for firewood. So to support them, it buys firewood from the Maasai women. This altogether changes the way men perceive women. So, healthcare and mobile clinic is another measure that Help for the Maasai takes in solving one of the major problems in the Maasai community by reducing maternal and under 5 mortality rate. So many people live very far from the health services and the hospital in Malambo, and because of that, Help for the Maasai and the Government Health Center started a partnership to drive to different places on mobile clinic so as to vaccinate the babies against very severe diseases that reduce mobility and morbidity rate under 5. They also check the babies for their weight and health. If they find out that a child is not growing healthy, like maybe to be too light, the mother receives special nutrition treatment from Help for the Maasai if needed. During the outreach, clinic Help for the Maasai and the local health center also provides antenatal care to pregnant women, identifying who are at risk of serious complications before and after birth. Thus, Help for the Maasai reduce maternal death due to complications. They also provide health care regarding family planning and importance of child spacing. Due to limited resources in the homes of the children, they are able to be fed well if there are only few and actually spaced, and grow up healthy, not becoming sick from time to time because of proper nutrition and proper spacing, hence low mortality rate. The local community is taught also about HIV and prevention and management, and also other STIs. The mother, with the help of spacing, helps build their body, and they are made strong and healthy again for another child conceiving and delivery. So family planning awareness provided by Help for the Maasai through the education of the Maasai people. It helps also the husband and wife dialogue improvement as when it comes to child planning. This helps a little bit to control the population growth. Through the impact of the gospel, which is evangelism as one of the field of Help for the Maasai, it helps to also solve some of the key issues in the Maasai community. One of Help for the Maasai's field, as I said, is evangelism and spreading the gospel, whereas they drive to several bomas, mostly in the evenings, for praying, singing, and preaching, also watching Jesus movie with the Maasai people. This has for so many years helped to bring changes into the communities, families, and individuals. For my case, my father heard the gospel back then from Angelica Wullenberg, and it helped. This gospel helped to change all his life, and even until today, for our family, the gospel has brought so many success. For the community, many traditions against the gospel have been reduced, and people tend to fear doing some things because they are Christians. For example, some circumcision customs, marriage issues, age-set acts, and so many others. And to families, the father changes the way of treating their wives in decision making. They get to get their opinions from time to time. They care and love their families, unlike in the past. The fathers also marry at least only one wife and be faithful to their wives. Also, the wives stay faithful to their husbands, which isn't a thing in the Maasai community. To individuals, most people do their best to stay obedient to God's commands, which makes it easy to live with one another in the community. So, we can see that the gospel takes a big role in changing and solving so many key issues in the community. So now we come to the conclusion. All these aspects, improving girl child education, empowering women, provision of economic opportunities for women, healthcare and mobility, mobile clinic, family planning awareness, and the gospel fights against all the three mentioned problems in the Maasai community. Both girls and women are empowered and are not inferior and oppressed by the traditional rules of the Maasai society and by men. They can live their life independently and with a bright future. Another impact of taking these measures is to slow down the population growth. Education and work helps to reduce the number of children as evidenced in developed countries. Population growth and a lower under 5 mortality rate seem to contradict, but together with the rising of the family planning awareness helps to reduce the population growth. When some of the people then understand and experience their children survive, they restrict as a consequence the number of their children. In the Maasai land, this will only happen if they are aware of the family planning. Population growth and scarcity of resources goes hand in hand. So when the population growth is controlled, the scarcity of resources is then not worsened. As an educated person, one has different sources of income, not depending only on their cattle, which needs the resources. As I mentioned before, that that these resources are declining. It doesn't directly affect them as it would have if they were only traditional pastoralists. Education is a way out of this situation. Every year in the drought season, many cattle die, causing famine and poverty to many pastoralist families. In comparison to that, I still can get my income, not affected by the weather or the natural resources. So in a nutshell, Help for the Maasai has been playing a major role in overcoming key issues of the Maasai community in Malambo and some other areas. It has the ability to change the story of someone's life for the better, like it did for me. I am grateful and I feel blessed. Thank you so much for your attention.